Hey YouTube, got another knife review for you. Folding knife, the Boker Plus Epicenter. It is a titanium frame lock. And the blade length on this, 3 1/2 inches. The weight is fairly heavy even with the lightweight titanium, 6.5 ounces. But for that weight, you're getting a very wide and fairly thick blade for a folder, and a very beefy handle, which I will show you. Let me give you some close-ups of the different parts of this knife. There you see the blade itself. It is a drop point tip design, an extra wide blade for its length. That is VG10 steel, which is a good quality Japanese stainless steel. And it does have a nice satin finish on the blade. Alright, and here you see the display side of the handle. You see it has a non-tubed lanyard hole. Right, and each side of the handle is about 5 millimeters thick. So it is very beefy. And the titanium there, it does have a light gray, almost silvery bead blast finish on it. Alright, and here you see the lock bar side. You see the large pivot screw there. Right, it is a torque screw. And you see the pocket clip. It comes set up for right side carry tip up, and it can be adjusted to right side carry tip down. Alright, so you got a 2-position pocket clip. The knife does arrive very sharp. Right, those were all push cuts from the belly. That was not my normal cut like that. Alright. For some reason, this knife is really good at push cuts using the belly. Alright, and here's another close-up of the knife. You see, it is open pillar construction. You see the stop pin there. You see there's a bullseye pattern of jimping. And there's no thumb ramp, but that is a thumb rest. You see the dual thumb studs there. Alright, pivot screw there. There's the lockup. It's an early lockup. There is no blade play. It is rock solid. See the partial tang there. And as I said, very thick handle scales. This is the second production run. The first production run of these did have some problems with the handle scales not lining up exactly, right? But they say those have all been fixed, right? And I don't see any problems with this one. Close up of the blade itself. I definitely like that blade shape and tip design. Very strong, a very strong tip. You see the thickness, nice thickness on that. VG10. The other side. Altogether, I think it's a very attractive blade. Overall, I definitely like this knife. One thing that I don't like so much about it is the deployment. It's just really tight. It definitely doesn't flick out. I have even oiled the pivot screw to try and help it a little. But you see that? And it's worse on this side for me. But you definitely have to push straight up on the pivot screw. If you push out at all, I'll do it by pushing out, no dice. It is not going to open. You have to push straight up. And even with that, the detent is very strong. Very strong detent on this. Get the fingerprints. Alright, so basically, the deployment is not very smooth. Hopefully over time that'll work itself out. See that? Luckily I am left-handed, so it does seem easier on the left, because when you open it with your left hand, right, you're pushing it away from the lock bar, and the detent is like right there. It's on that side, so you're pushing it a little bit away from the detent, which is why it's easier. And on this side, you're tending to push it deeper into the detent. All right, that's why you have to push it straight up. All right, so it's a good knife, but definitely, you know, I definitely cannot flick this open like I could with, say, my titanium Spyderco Military. Oh, and it does pick up fingerprints. As far as the ergonomics of the handle, I like them quite a bit. Since the scales are wide, right, it basically, you know, it's wide enough to give a good grip. It's a little bit of a finger groove here, pinky ramp there. Both just enough to be functional. Alright, and here we have a size comparison. Strangely, the Epicenter knife is actually very similar in overall length and just its overall proportions to these two older Kershaw knives. The top knife is the Kershaw Cyclone, and the bottom knife is the Kershaw Lahar. As you can see, very similar in overall length, and very similar in how wide the blades and the handles are. The Epicenter handle, it might be slightly more narrow, but only slightly. Alright, so it's roughly the size of a Cyclone or a Lahar. Alright, and another very similar knife in terms of size and being an extra wide drop point. This is, of course, my Lion Steel. Alright, SR1. And they're both titanium frame locks, and they are of roughly equal overall size, as you can see there. All right, and the blades are also very similar size. More belly on here, more penetrative tip on the Epicenter, but overall, you know, both great blades. All right, and one more quick comparison, my Almar Sear 2000. Now both these blades have a VG10 steel, right? And as you can see, the Almar Sear 2000 is very similar in terms of overall length, right? But it's obviously the blade is just more narrow, but similar overall length and blade length as well. All right, so what's my overall opinion on the Boker Plus Epicenter titanium frame lock folder? Well, I do recommend it. I'm a big fan of VG10, you know, next to S30V, as far as the more commonly used steels in folders, you know, not counting the super duper steels, but the most commonly used production steels. Besides S30V, VG10 is definitely my favorite. The SOG Vulcan folder I carry every day is VG10. I love the extra pointed drop point tip design. I think it gives you a lot of strength and also gives you almost the same penetration abilities as, say, a clip point. So I think it's kind of the best of both worlds. Satin finish I like a lot, and it'll help resist rust. Frame lock, very simple, very secure type of lock. Titanium, you know, it's a premium material. People are willing to pay more. You've got the TI Sage, the TI Military, Bradley's are titanium frame locks, obviously Chris Reeve, that SR1 knife from Lion Steel. You know, titanium frame locks are big now, and a lot of them are even more expensive than this. It is a pricey knife, but I was not disappointed. It had no flaws, you know, no blade play. The lockup was very secure. And as I said, there are plenty of titanium frame locks that are even, you know, far more expensive than this. So if you're buying this, maybe you're looking for a quote-unquote poor man's version, all right, of some of those mid-tech knives, and it would be great for that. I do think it's just a pretty awesome knife. You know, I've wanted one since the first production run. There were some technical problems with that run, and the knife sold out anyway, so I didn't have a chance to get it even if there weren't those problems. This is the second production run. There was no problems with uneven scales on mine, so I think they fixed that problem. So I would highly recommend the knife.